My story is I became an advocate as an undergraduate, and the experiences that shaped me in my early 20s have really informed who I am today. Many times, yes. When I began my undergraduate career, I was a biology major. I wanted to do pre-med, and I was told by my biology professor, who was a male, that women didn't make good doctors because they had babies, and even though I was really smart, I should really consider the nursing program. And I didn't know enough to question authority because my parents taught me not to. I was first generation college student. My parents had never been through college. I was on scholarship, and I felt like I had to protect, my college education. And then, so I went with my second love, which was vocal performance. Many people don't know that, but I used to sing. I don't anymore, but I used to. And so I became a music performance major, and about a semester in to coursework, my academic advisor, also male, said, "You have a beautiful instrument, Penny, but you just aren't physically appropriate to be successful in the music business," because I wanted to be a performer. And then I didn't really know what to do after that, and I was on the speech team in college, and I had taken some political science classes and some intro to women's studies classes. So I became a speech comm poli-sci double major with an interest in women's studies, and that's where I stayed. That's a loaded question, considering I'm still employed at Wartburg. I will say that how I have been treated has evolved over the years since I have been here. When I first started working here, there were a lot of firsts at Wartburg that you wouldn't think would be firsts at Wartburg. For example, Dr. DeVries, my colleague, is the first female chemistry professor to ever teach at Wartburg College, and I never thought that I would experience that as a first somewhere. I will say that I have had experiences in my career where I have been treated differently in terms of how my comments were received because of my gender. So some microaggressions, and thankfully my current colleagues that I have are very open to discussions about what that means. And my male colleagues in particular, in the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years, have been really open and welcoming to self-education about how they can be better advocates, and how they can be aware of microaggressions, and how they can be aware of being a part of an oppressive system that they inherently disagree with, but it's kind of like soup, right? You're in the middle of it, and it's really hard to see it. And so I would say yes, my gender has impacted my career, but I'm still here. I'm still doing what I'm doing, and I'm making an impact. So it hasn't derailed my career, but it presents different opportunities than if I were a different gender. Yes. Many times. I mean, in my personal life and my professional life. And I think that when I was younger, I went through, a baby feminist stage. That's what I call it, being a baby feminist. When you first woke, and then you realize just how pissed off you are at the inequity that you didn't realize existed. And, I think during that phase, I probably wasn't as subtle as I could have been. But as I age, I think, having a conversation with people and saying, I'm sure you didn't mean to insult me when you said that, but, here's how I received that. But yeah, absolutely. In my personal life as well as my professional life, I've had to set people straight in terms of misogynistic attitudes or misogynistic rhetoric. And I think that, at some point you have choices to make. If you are constantly in a toxic environment and you cannot change that toxicity and work from within, sometimes you have to cut it out. And so those are choices that we all have to face. And there shouldn't be choices that we have to make. But sometimes it went well and sometimes it didn't. But I don't expect that would change anytime soon. Well, I think it's important to teach our students that it exists so they're not surprised when it happens, and also to teach them how to avoid becoming part of the problem. So if we're creating educated young people who are aware of institutionalized misogyny or institutionalized sexism, and they're actively working to dismantle that, then the hope is for the next generations, it won't be an issue. So I think awareness, I think once the veil has been lifted, you have a responsibility to make your world a better place. And I focus on lifting that veil for everyone. All genders can learn. All genders have, and everyone has inherent bias, right? So, everybody has something to learn from someone else. So lifting the veil, I think that's the one thing that I can do is promote awareness, because once you're aware, it's pretty hard to ignore it.